to another week of the Rev MD podcast. I am so excited to have a guest with us this week to talk about the mysterious group visits. And I'm going to have to be very honest here. I did not know much about group visits and the billing around group visits until I had a chance to dive in and speak with this lovely physician. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Oduba and have her kind of tell us a little bit about her and her company and some exciting things around how we generate revenue with group visits.
Thank you so much, Heather. I am Kike Oduba. I'm a physician and also an entrepreneur. And my background is pretty much in public health, population health. I am board certified in infectious disease prevention. And I also do a lot of work in epidemiology and healthcare informatics. And at the moment, I am the CEO founder of the company Wellness Wits, which is a digital health platform for shared medical appointments where doctors who have large patient volumes or have limited time can see their patients in groups rather than individual 15-minute appointments. That way they can save time, they can increase efficiencies, and also they can, potentially increase their income. And so to tell a little bit about how shared medical visits work is such that a physician, let's say, for example, diabetes, a physician who is a primary care provider, who is seeing, say, maybe 100 patients in a week and say about 50% of those people are diabetics. What you find is that many diabetics have very similar issues. They have similar concerns when they come into the clinic, right? Is it that they want a medication refill, they have questions, they have a new symptom, potentially are having complications. But then the provider is having to deliver the same care to multiple patients over and over again. But what we found is that patients actually seek community, especially people who have a chronic condition like diabetes that is multifaceted, right? That can have a cardiology implication, can have weight management as well as, as a need, nutrition or dietitian services. So when you see that somebody has a complex condition like that, then the physician is put in a position where they don't have enough time to address every single thing that involves that condition. And so with that, you identify there are areas like social determinants of health that are missing during an individual visit. When you now decide to put groups of patients together with the same diagnosis, with the same health problems, and you begin to see them, what you find is that they're able to share each other's lived experiences. They're able to learn vicariously from each other how they're handling those social determinants of health issues that their doctors are not able to manage for them. And then on top of that, the doctor is able to learn more from the patient groups, because if out of 15 patients, 6 to 7 of them are saying the same thing or sharing the same experience, then it informs the doctor on how to better manage these group of people. So those are the benefits of shared medical appointments. And the key thing here is the fact that providers who offer shared medical appointments are able to get reimbursements from insurance payers as if those people were seeing one-on-one, meaning that if you're currently billing 99212, 99213, up to 5 for specific chronic conditions, you're able to bill those same codes for group visits. However, there are some boxes you must check to be able to do that, right? CMS has, a statement on this, and they had a statement put out publicly saying that if a patient or a consumer comes to the doctor and they sign a confidentiality waiver saying they are okay with their doctor observing or treating them in the presence of other people, then nothing precludes the doctor from offering such services under existing E&M codes. And so with that gives the doctor the leeway to pretty much organize their clinic the way they want to. Let's say you see a patient for the first visit individually, and then you say, you know what? Next to appointments, I'm going to put you in with a group of patients who have the same experience as you, so we can handle your, follow-up or questions together as a group. Now, another key thing is this, with the pandemic and recent changes to physician fee schedule, you find out that CMS has brought out other opportunities for doctors to make revenue using chronic care management, remote patient monitoring. With those, you realize that the things doctors already do, what activities they currently engage in, are now reimbursable outside of the clinical encounter. And so what we've done is that we've allowed physicians have this type of an ecosystem around specific chronic conditions where they are able to offer shared medical appointments. And then outside of those appointments, there's care coordination, question and answers going between the doctor and the patient, or the care team and the patient. All of that now can be reimbursed. So to tell you a little bit about our solution, about our company, like I said, our company, is a digital health company for shared medical appointments. We have a platform, the Wellness Wits platform. And what it does is it combines three things: shared medical appointments, chronic care management, and remote patient monitoring, collectively known. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I just have a quick question. So for those patients, for a lot of our listeners, they're like, group visits, what? Wait a minute, that's possible? And so I just want to take another minute and kind of talk. So group visits are something that physicians can implement in their practice, where they can have up to how many patients? Is there a cutoff in terms of how many patients they can have as part of that group visit?
Not necessary. There's an optimal number, which is 15. We've had group visits of 20 before. Some doctors go up to 25, but I guess it depends on the specific chronic condition and the actual goal and focus of the group visit. If this is more of a group visit where it's about symptom management, where patients are asking questions about specific symptoms, maybe there's a new drug that was introduced, they're asking questions, then you can have a larger group of patients. But if it's an actual medication management where each patient is having breakout rooms on the Zoom call or in person, if the doctor decides to do it in person, then you have a limited number of patients, because they have to go through 10 to 15 people on one-on-one conversations of 5 to 7 minutes. And so group visits are adaptable to the needs of the provider, and is very much dependent on the collective diagnosis of all the group members.
And so, this is such a fascinating thing, right? Because as physicians, we recognize it's harder and harder to see patients and answer all the questions. And so this is an opportunity where maybe they see them, like you said, once. They address it. Maybe it's a new patient, maybe it's an established patient, but they have a new diagnosis. So maybe it's diabetes. And then you say, okay, now I've got this great group for you to be in that we can discuss high-level things about education and managing the disease, or managing the symptoms, or managing your meds. Then the patients get to talk to each other. They get to, kind of encourage each other, really. It's a team effort. And then the doctor can spend a longer period of time and really answer more in-depth lifestyle questions or weight management stuff. And then they can bill that 99213 or whatever for each one of those patients, correct?
Correct. Yes, they can. And another thing that, is interesting is the fact that you can have multiple doctors handling the same group. So for example, if a primary care provider typically refers to maybe an endocrinologist for their diabetic patient, or a cardiologist, what you can do is have the two doctors on one appointment with, say, 20 patients, and then there is a collective group visit where everybody, shares, the doctors talk with the patient, and then half of the time is split between the two doctors, where they can then host one-on-ones with each and every one in the two cohorts of patients. So it's beyond just the one to many. You can also have many to many, where there's even, health coaches, nurse practitioners, dietitians helping co-managing patients alongside a doctor. So, and then that opens up opportunities for even those other doctors to build their own appointments with another collaborating healthcare provider. I don't know if that makes sense, but the point I'm trying to make is that you can save time. There could be more efficiencies, right, in care coordination or even referrals, right? If a doctor already sees a group of patients and they know what their prognosis looks like, and you know this patient would definitely need a referral to a cardiologist or to an eye doctor, maybe you can just group your patients who are having retinopathy in one appointment and then bring an eye doctor right there in the visit. That saves the time for the patient and the doctor, where already you know who you're referring to. They're already in that appointment with a group of patients. So it's quite an interesting dynamic when you begin to think about shared medical appointments and the way it benefits not just the providers, but the consumers and the patients involved.
And remind me again, I believe when we talked last time, it was either Cleveland Clinic or Kaiser that has been doing this for some time. So maybe talk a little bit just about the history of group visits and the billing of this, which has really led to the development of your company, which I think is so beneficial because it pairs that kind of consulting learning aspect with the technology. So yeah, give me a little history on kind of Cleveland Clinic, Kaiser, or what's been out in the marketplace for this.
Absolutely. I've had the honor and the privilege to talk to, leaders at Cleveland Clinic, Kaiser Permanente, on the issue of shared medical appointments. Apparently, Cleveland Clinic has been doing this for so many years, I think over 10 years now. And Dr. Marianne Samego, who is the director for shared medical appointments, was giving a talk at a conference earlier this year. And somebody just sent me a LinkedIn post and say, hey, somebody's talking about shared medical appointments. It seems like Cleveland Clinic has been doing this for a while. So we did talk with her. We had her in a meeting, and she said they had done, I think, about 250,000 shared medical appointments system-wide at the Cleveland Clinic, meaning they've adopted it for many of their specialty clinics whereby patients have the opportunity to see their doctors with other groups of patients, right? And so we talked with them and we saw that they have a very robust playbook for several use cases. I think they've done this for diabetes, weight management, cancer follow-ups, heart disease, women's health. There's just so many, use cases that they've tested this on. And guess what? They did this all on the back of Zoom. There isn't a dedicated platform, digital health platform today for shared medical appointments. And so, as we know, Zoom is not a healthcare product, it's not healthcare software, even though we do adapt it for our users in healthcare. But the point I'm trying to make is that we did see a gap and saw that, wait a minute, health systems and healthcare providers are doing this. They need a solution that can integrate with their existing EHR infrastructure. They need to be able to take notes, even in the visit, like they would a regular one-on-one in their EHR. And so we decided, you know what, we're going to build for this. The same thing, Kaiser. From what I understand, Kaiser does this through Teams, Microsoft Teams. They've also done a whole lot of this. I think it was the VP of Population Health at Kaiser I spoke to, and she said they've been doing this for mental health. In fact, during the pandemic, they had such a huge gap in care that the way they solved that problem was to group patients and have them see their doctors through shared medical appointments. So clearly, this is something that has been in existence. And for the most part, many of these hospitals did it in person, right, where they had a dedicated space. But then during the pandemic, all of that had to go away because we couldn't see each other in person during the pandemic. And so people started getting creative using the likes of Teams and Zoom to get, the shared medical appointments done. And so right now, as we are speaking to them, our goal is to see how we can partner and kind of get their playbook on how they've done it on a large scale and implement that with our current customers. And hopefully, we get other health systems, to come on board and try out shared medical appointments on our platform.
It's such a benefit, again, like you said, for the physicians, for the office, for the patients, for the overall just population health. I mean, it's just everything. I feel like, and you get revenue from it and you can bill for it. So, I mean, it just checks all the boxes. Mm-hmm. Maybe what would be helpful is, I know we talked a little bit about diabetes. Maybe like, what do you see as like the top 2 or 3 things that are use cases? Obviously, diabetes being one of them, but what else do you see commonly, out there in the community for this type of visit?
Absolutely. I'd say mental health will be the second topmost use case that I can think of, simply because there's just such a huge need for mental health providers. And then on top of that, people with mental health issues feel very isolated, right? They feel like they're suffering on their own. It's all in their, in their own space, and they don't really know how to get that, burden off their chest. I feel like shared medical appointments is a great place to to help people with mental health issues pretty much handle this thing without having to bear all the burden. The next one I'll say is in pain management. Pain is the most expensive, chronic condition in healthcare, right? Everybody's gone through some level of pain, and people who are on opioids, we have this opioid crisis in the United States and even in the world right now. They go back to the doctor's office almost every week. Some people go every week to see the doctor, and it's a whole lot of burden, right, to handle this volume. And so shared medical appointments is a great way to handle the volume so physicians don't get burned out. And then also it helps handle some of the social determinants of health issues associated with these chronic conditions, right? How are you paying for your health care? Are you able to actually make it to your doctor's appointment? Are you adhering to the care plan? Are you adhering to your medications, right? What does your nutrition look like? Are you under a lot of stress? Those things are actually very important, but when do we get to address that in a traditional 15-minute one-on-one appointment? And so those are the key use cases that I can think of. We've tried this with gastroenterology. That was actually the very first pilot we did. It's been successful. We have two nephrologists now who have signed up with us, who are clients. We have two clinics that are offering weight loss. Weight loss is also a huge one. We also have a rheumatologist who wants to, help people with rare diseases, just, talk to each other and see if there could be new findings, and potentially be able to test new drugs, right? Where pharmaceutical companies can partner with providers who are offering group visits and just say, hey, you have a group of 50 patients who have this specific condition. Can we test out this drug and see? So it's a whole lot of different things you can do through shared appointments, but it's just dependent on where the needs are and where the volume is.
And so does your company help, like if we've got practices that are like, gosh, that sounds amazing, but I have no idea how to do that or what that looks like, are they able to sit down with you and kind of share about their practice, and then you kind of help guide them in, okay, here's the patients we can start with? And again, you have a technology component to your company. It started consulting, it's got tech. Talk a little bit about the tech and kind of how you help practices get started in something like this.
Absolutely. So the first thing is, whenever there is an interest in shared medical appointments from a provider or a clinic, we have you fill out a short 5-minute form just to tell us a little bit more about yourself. How many people do you see in a week? What are your pain points, right? What are the things you don't want to do that you hope you could get, done, much quicker, right? And what are the things that you would like to automate in your practice? When we gather that information from that short form, then we begin like an onboarding series with you, where we identify what are the top 3 conditions, who are your eye touch patients, and what times are you available to see these groups of patients. So we do a whole lot of support and training for providers to get them to that first visit where they can, say, hey, and I have a community of patients who suffer from X, Y, and Z. And then from there, how can we help you begin recouping reimbursements from insurance? This needs to be done right, by the way. Like I said, there are boxes you must check for you to be able to do shared medical appointments and bill insurance for it. So we walk you through every single step of the way. We have a very robust team of experts who know and understand this space, and they can help guide doctors who are looking to get started with shared medical appointments. About the technology, our technology is in the market right now. We're a startup company. We're still, testing out a few things, and that's why we're trying to partner with the likes of Cleveland Clinic. But right now, we're able to help small to medium-sized practices, and then when it gets to health systems, we work alongside them as co-development partners, because we believe that the health systems are the ones who really have the the revenue model locked in. They understand how to manage revenue cycle much better than the small practices, and so on a large scale, they can help us build out our solution in a way that it can cause interoperability with different EHRs, different provider groups, and health conditions that we can tackle. So that's the current state we're in our company.
Got it. No, I mean, and I think that's so helpful because, you know, from a billing company's perspective, you know, I think it's one, making sure that they've checked all those boxes, because I don't want to have our team bill it if they've not checked all those boxes. And so to partner with a technology that helps guide you through all of that and say, okay, here's the boxes you've got to check. Let's make sure that those are checked. And then we're going to then, you know, conduct the visits. And then here's the documentation we do after the visit. So it's the pre-documentation and kind of, you know, consent forms and all of that stuff, the visit, and then the after the fact, and then getting that stuff into your EMR so that you can drop those CPT codes and that your billing team is aware of it. And so for the listeners on, you know, I can't, you know, say this enough, but this is something that really benefits all sides. It's so rare in healthcare that you get stuff that can kind of benefit everybody, the physicians in terms of time management and efficiency, the patients, the revenue cycle side of things in terms of revenue growth. So really this kind of checks all the boxes. So if I were a listener trying to find you and contact you and set up some time, how do I do that?
Oh, that's a great question. I guess the first thing is to go on our website, www.wellnesswits.com. And if you go to the tab on the top that says providers, there is a form there where you click and it takes you straight up to our support email where you can send us a request to actually see a demo of the platform. And then from there, we start the whole conversations about your intent to start. And then we ask for your, we ask you a bunch of questions and then we get you onboarded. But our website is the first point of contact.
And just for the listeners, one more time again, what's that website?
www.wellnesswits.com. The Wellness Wits as in WELLNESSWITS.com.
Okay, great. And I'll have that in the show notes for people too. So, well, anything else? I mean, again, from my stand of things, like as a physician, I just, this is amazing. When you guys were chatting about this, and again, I forget the physician who brought this up, Dr. Vivian, right?
Yes.
Yes. When she brought that up, I was like, oh, wow, I don't know enough about this. And so I started talking with our team, and people have kind of heard about it, but nobody's really, like you said, been able to piece it together in such an organized way so that you know you're checking the boxes, you know the patients to start it with. And so I am so excited I was very excited for this interview and glad that you could share all about your company and your story, and very excited to kind of see where this goes. So we'll have to have you back as you kind of grow and kind of, continue to partner with both, the healthcare practices as well as the healthcare systems. And I think really shape what healthcare is going to look like. So I appreciate you being on today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great conversation.
Of course. Well, have a great, great day. And it was good chatting.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining this week's RevMD podcast. If you are looking for a new billing and coding team, please check out our website at nationalrevenueconsulting.com, where we've got testimonials and other services that we can help private practices with. Our mission is to help private practices learn the business side of medicine so that they understand the things that they can do in their practice so that their revenue can increase and their practices can thrive. We are physician owned and are excited to help any practice that may need either a coding audit or a full service billing and coding team. We take on a limited number of practices each year, and we only have a few more spots left for 2024. Have a great rest of your weekend.